Hello, Derbyites. I'm Tom O'Brien, and I'm here with Amanda Spears, Tony Ruiz, Riley Chow, and Zach Laws to talk about a big category, supporting actress in a drama series. So to set the table, let's go over the nominees. We've got Lena Headey in Game of Thrones, in Stranger Things, Vanessa Kirby in The Crown, Ann Dowd in The Handmaid's Tale, Yvonne Strahovski in The Handmaid's Tale, Alexis Bledel in The Handmaid's Tale, and Thandie Newton in Westworld. Riley, why don't you start us off? What do you make of all of this?
I think there's going to be too much vote splitting among the three actresses from The Handmaid's Tale, because if you only watch the first episode, that's Ann Dowd's tape. And if you watch the second episode, that's Alexis Bledel's tape. But if you watch the whole season, then I think it's clearly Yvonne Strahovski's season. I ran another poll in the forum, the 70 votes, who would you vote for out of the three? 76% said Yvonne Strahovski, but I don't trust the Emmy voters to make the same decision. I would think that they would lean more toward Ann Dowd. So I think that those three are kind of out. I don't have any of them higher than third.
Tony.
I agree that vote splitting is going to be a big problem, but I have Dowd and Strahovski up higher. I have Strahovski in second for the reason that if they are paying attention to the season as a whole, she was such a huge presence and her character had such a huge arc this season. But Ann Dowd, who was really a surprise winner last year, a great surprise, certainly has a larger, I felt like she had a larger presence this season than last season, but I think the vote splitting could really play a factor, which is why I'm not predicting either one of them for number one.
So, number one?
So right now I have Vanessa Kirby winning. And it's something I am not confident about at all. I see, but of the ones that are solo nominees from their show, which is Lena Headey and Thandie Newton and Vanessa Kirby, I just feel like Kirby has the biggest performance, has the most to do. Her episode submission was spot on, and that's really all I got at this point. Not also the fact that she does have a huge, gigantic Boffo hit movie in Mission Impossible right now. So I just think this is a place. The Crown is nipping at The Handmaid's Tale's heels, and I think this is one place where they could reward somebody that they're not going to get another chance to reward. Lena Headey could be rewarded next year for the final season of Game of Thrones. Thandie Newton, she still has plenty of time. This is the last chance they have for Vanessa Kirby.
Amanda, do you think any of the returning nominees have much of a chance?
No, I think the British are coming, frankly. I do not see this going to the Handmaid's Tale ladies, including Ozzy Strahovski, for the reason Riley said. And when I was speaking with Rob, one of our senior editors, he's like, it's really odd you and Riley are agreeing a lot. But which is giving me this weird pain on my side, which I think is either because of that or my appendix is going to burst. But Millie Bobby Brown would be the only one I'd be like, how the hell did that happen? So right now I'm predicting Thandie Newton because last year, and Riley and I were discussing this like a few weeks ago, last year, everybody was on the Thandie Newton train. It seemed like she was going to win. She had the SAG nomination. She won the Critics' Choice. She was nominated for the Globes. It made perfect sense while she was going to win. Well, actually, no, it didn't make perfect sense because Ann Dowd was overdue for some recognition, and she was in the drama series winner. This year, I think Ann Dowd can't get past two of them, can't get past three. I just don't think it's going to happen. Whereas I really think, maybe they go back to Thandie Newton. Maybe she's popular enough now that she could take it, and she's so good in that episode speaking Japanese. She's so badass in that. But the one thing I will say is I don't like making reactionary predictions, and I'm not predicting Matthew Good. But if he somehow pulls off guest drama actor, I'm switching to Vanessa Kirby, because I will know they watched The Crown this season and they've seen her performance, because that's the only way he would win, is if they saw those episodes, saw his episode or her episode. And she's good in his, even though that's not her submission. So, and then, I would never count out Lena Headey. You just never know. She might be in the same position where, you know what, now she doesn't have anyone else from Game of Thrones. Maggie Smith's out of her way finally. There's not this grand dame in the category. So maybe she could sneak off with this, because there is 7. So you need a little less than normal. But I think it's between those 3 women.
Okay. Now, Zach, do any of your other colleagues' predictions give you any aches and pains?
All the time, yeah. That's
It's just odd for Riley and I to be on like the same side in so many of these, where I'm like, oh.
I would say Millie Bobby Brown is the one who I don't think would win out of all these. If she was going to win, it would have been last year. Mm-hmm. If they've watched the entire season, and if they're paying attention to the entire season, then I think Yvonne Strahovski would win this easily, because she does have this great arc. Now, I say if they've watched the whole season, right? That's assuming that they have, and assuming that Aunt Lydia is not still this iconic character, especially considering that, we see her at least once a week giving the White House press briefing. Oh,
that's mean. She's like 20 years older than. I'm sorry. That's a little mean, Zach.
It's not. It has nothing to do with her looks. It has everything to do with the fact that she's betraying all Americans with her lies and obfuscation.
Yeah, she's definitely an aunt.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yes. And also, Alexis Bledel, let's not forget, she did win an Emmy last year. I think she's definitely in 3rd out of those 3, but she is a returning Emmy champion, technically. However, I would say Yvonne Strahovski, definitely, if you're going off of the season, she has the edge. Now, of course, like the last 3 episodes of this season were not technically eligible. That doesn't mean they did not watch them, but that could hurt her.
That finale would have been a better episode for Strahovski. I would pick, if we were doing an episode and Strahovski could submit the finale, I would pick her to win, because she made me cry.
I agree totally. Vanessa Kirby's the one that I'm thinking could be the upset here, because having gone to see Mission Impossible many times, every time you see this woman on screen, you think to yourself, my God, that's a movie star. She really does have this kind of like Grace Kelly beauty and magnetism about her. And then to see her in The Crown, where it's rather transformative when you see her in real life. It's a wonderful performance. And again, it is the last time that they're ever going to be able to vote for her.
And she just won the BAFTA.
Yes. So I think that for me, I'm thinking it's between her and Strahovski. The Crown is nipping at the Handmaid's Tale, the Handmaid's Tale's feet. But then again, like I've said over and over again today, never underestimate the Emmy voters' ability to just vote for who they voted for last time. So don't be surprised if Ann Dowd just wins again. Let's not forget that she won last year against one of her competitors.
But I don't think Samira Wiley, and I loved her. I love her to death. I don't think that she had enough buzz going for her to overcome long overdue character actress. I know she hates being called that, but deservingly finally getting nominated. She got nominated for The Leftovers, which no one was expecting. So we knew the acting branch had some support behind her. And she's so evil that she doesn't have to do a lot because she's got such a presence. I mean, even in that first episode when she just steps out after everyone's pissed themselves, you're like, of course this was Aunt Lydia's idea. Like, she barely says anything and you're like, yep.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I think even though Elizabeth Moss is the face of the show, you know, Aunt Lydia really is the one who everyone remembers. You know, and so that definitely benefits her. You know, but I bring up the fact that she beat her own co-star because we talk about Ed. We're still trying to figure out the vote splitting within this new.
You have to be far and above the choice over your co-star. And so the one thing, just going back to Vanessa Kirby really quickly, when she won that BAFTA, it's not as though The Crown has won a dozen BAFTAs in the past 2 years. John Lithgow did not win the BAFTA.
That's true.
And she won to audible gasps in the audience. And Claire Foy did not win a BAFTA for Queen Elizabeth II. And I do, you know, I know they're different. I know there's different voting bodies, but it kind of gave me permission finally to you know, put her back in my 6. And I think, you know, if we see some Crown love, if good wins, then I think it starts looking good itself for her, because she is so amazing in that role.
Yeah. Yeah. Now,
I mean, she's going to be played. The new version is going to be played by Helena Bonham Carter, for God's sakes. I mean,
Helena Bonham Carter has sung her praises about.
And yeah, well, not to toot my own horn, but when I interviewed Vanessa Kirby for Gold Derby, one of the most charming things about it is the fact that that the two of them, Helena Bonham Carter and Vanessa Kirby, really collaborated. It was very kind of in depth, the conversations that they had, almost like literally passing off the torch from one performer to another. So I just have this weird, right now I just have a gut feeling about Kirby, and until, and I think Amanda's point is brilliant, that if Matthew Good somehow wins, then it's going to be solidified for me.
Oh yeah, I'm going to move her up. I just, you know, it's my favorite show. It really is my favorite show, and I would love for everybody involved in The Crown to win. But because I'm trying to be objective, I need to see something to make me go flip her to first. But sometimes, you know, like with Ben Mendelsohn, the first year he was nominated, a lot of us thought he could win because he had a spectacular episode. He was very dominant throughout that season. And then he surprised us winning the second season. I could see how Thandie Newton could do that. Well, maybe she could. I'm not saying like she's had a crappy season like, you know, Ben Mendelsohn's second season on Bloodline. I'm just saying, you know, she could just kind of surprise us and sneak up there and take it after we all jumped off the bandwagon.
I think, you know, one of the interesting things about Westworld is that, you know, it gets all of these nominations, but it has trouble winning a bunch of things. I mean, it did not win a single, like, on the telecast. It won some Creative Arts Emmys.
5. It won 5.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it
That's
did not.
what happens when you run the Globe, you run the HBO blogs, you know, all of those facts.
Yeah. But yeah, it did not, you know, even, you know, when you had like Anthony Hopkins nominated for actor, like, you know, it did not win any acting awards. So I wonder if, even though it gets those acting nominations, if they think of it as more of a technical show. So it'll be interesting to see if Thandie Newton could pull off a win this year. I think if anybody's going to be the Ben Mendelsohn of this year, it would have to be Millie Bobby Brown, because you know,
yeah, I'm just saying as far as it, like, you know.
No, I get you.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying.
No, I get your comparison, Tom.
I think she'd be like the Barry Pepper. Like, how the hell did that one happen?
Yeah, I suspect so.
Because you know what? Of all of these episodes, and including in Stranger Things season, her episode was a waste of time.
it ruined the season for me, honestly.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
really did. And it's just a complete waste of time. And that is one of those things where it's like, and I agree, if she was going to win, if you're a kid actor, if you can't win the first year, it's just going to get harder and harder because they're going to be less impressed by it.
And there's one thing that I keep, and I can totally understand why Thandie Newton would be higher for people. What gives me pause is that as much as that show gets, the technical nominations, and it's certainly gotten its fair share of acting nominations this year, it is a very divisive show. And so when you take this, what I come back to, it's kind of like the same logic, even though it's completely different, of if a show is divisive, and there's not a universal, This Is Us was divisive last year, but Sterling K. Brown, we all knew he was winning. Is Thandie Newton that much of a focal point that she could win over even those people that don't like the show?
I've got to say that
so.
of all of the 6 in this category,
Seven.
Thandie Newton's Japanese episode was the only one that made my jaw drop, and it dropped through the entire episode. I was just in awe of what she did, and it's not just speaking Japanese; it was the whole flipping that character, totally upside down. And if she was delivering the same thing she did last year, I'd say, okay, fine, the nomination's the win. This is something very, very different, and I gotta hand it to her. And I don't have her in first. I have Kirby in first, but I'd probably put her in second.
Yeah, those are my top 2. I just, that Shogun episode got buzz beforehand, and then she's just so good. Of all of the actors on that show, she is the one who deserves a trophy for it. And sometimes it does take another year. And I do think that, those 3 Handmaids ladies are sadly gonna cancel themselves out.
I think so too.
Because I could still see how people are going to vote for each of them. I mean, I could make the case.
Well, I'll say that, in terms of campaigning, Hulu has definitely picked Yvonne Strahovski as their push. I think they'd be happy if any of them won, but I think that they've kind of centralized their focus on her because this was so much her season. Whether or not that pays off, we don't know. We've seen before that even when you have a fantastic season, it doesn't necessarily matter with Emmy voters. They just vote for who they like, And
I do wonder if there's some backlash against The Handmaid's Tale, and because at the SAG Awards, they only submitted Elizabeth Moss.
And Strahovski.
They submitted Strahovski?
Okay. She's one of the 3 main actors on the show with Joseph Fiennes who are not billed alphabetically with the rest of the cast. So I can see how maybe, contractually they're obligated to push her over the rest of them. Mm-hmm. I'll just say that, I have Thandie Newton in first, and, I don't think you even need to make all these arguments, although they certainly help. But I think we can all assume that she was second last year. And if the difference between last year and this year is that Ann Dowd has vote splitting, maybe Thandie Newton doesn't need to gain any ground. Maybe she can just slide through with the same level of support that she had last time.
If everybody from Westworld wins, then if everybody from Westworld votes for her, then she should be good.
Yeah, Westworld is still doing well. Okay, why not, Zach?
No, I was just going to make a joke. I was going to say, you didn't think it was Chrissy Metz? That was my...
Oh, okay.
I was going to make a snide comment. Go ahead.
Oh, God.
So I don't have Vanessa Kirby ahead of Thandie Newton because she's just newer. There was a lot of interest in Princess Margaret this season. I think it was as much her season, at least in terms of what people were talking about, as it was about how good Claire Foy was. But Thandie Newton, she was in Mission Impossible 2 20 years ago. She's been around, and I think that people might want to acknowledge her career more than they'd want to acknowledge Vanessa Kirby. Even if this is Vanessa Kirby's last chance for this character, maybe it's getting closer to Thandie Newton's last chance at the Emmys in general. And I don't have Lena Headey because, well, when I was predicting the nominations, I had the other 6 in this category, and I didn't have her because I didn't see Emilia Clarke or Kit Harington getting in, and Macy Williams didn't get in either. So I don't know if there's much support left for that show among the acting branch. And then obviously, you know, we all have Millie Bobby Brown last. So for me, it comes down to Kirby versus Newton, and I'm just going with the older one.
I think Newton would be just a wonderful winner. Please make sure you spell her name correctly this year. Ay.
Oh, you're talking to the telecast people.
Yeah.
Don't you besmirch my penmanship like that.
Yeah.
But what a lovely thing to say that, you know, we can make arguments for most of these nominees as deserving winners and not just, you know, possible winners. Like, I have no problem if Thandie Newton won.
Yeah.
I would have no problem if any of the Handmaid's Tale ladies win. If Lena Headey pulled it off, I would think good for her. It's just, you know, unlike drama supporting actor, this category is stacked. This is a category of people who should win Emmys.
It is stacked, and I think that Thandie Newton should have won last year. I wouldn't have nominated her this year.
Riley, you take one step forward with me. I think of season 2, she was the best part of it, other than Zan McLaren, but he didn't get nominated. So